Hi, beautiful. You look just as beautiful as last time I saw you, or maybe even more. Who knew that was possible? I didn't. After years of being a hairdresser, I've noticed one major thing. Most people have no idea what their hair type actually is. Is my hair thick? Is my hair thin? Is it fine? Is it coarse? Is it curly? Is it straight? Nobody has any clue. People with fine hair are notorious for saying that their hair is thin. It's not thin, it's fine. Those are two different things. Today we're gonna review things down to the nitty-gritty details. We're gonna figure out what your scalp type is. Is it oily, dry, normal? Do you have high density or low density? Is your hair thick or thin? Is your hair actually damaged or is it actually healthy? And also, what type of wave pattern you actually have. We'll go through everything from straight hair to the curliest of them all and everything in between. Now, this will help you a lot when figuring out what products are necessary for you and what shampoos and conditioners should you buy. And also, it's just interesting to know what your hair type is. That way we can all just figure it out once and for all and be done with it and make me happy, okay? If you want to figure out what your hair type actually is, then let's do it. Let's get started. First category is scalp type. Maybe something you never thought about before. Actually, probably most of you guys have thought about it, but I want to review it because people get confused if their scalp is oily or is it dry or is it just normal. So let's review oily. Typically people with oily scalps, if you wash your hair in the morning and by midday or by nighttime, your hair is getting piecey and there's clearly a bit of oil on your hair strand, typically means your hair is on the oily side. In combination with that, if you look at your scalp and by the end of the day after washing your head, it is really shiny. You can actually feel oil on your scalp. Means your hair is oily for sure, 100%. And if you have both combined, girl, you probably got an extra oily scalp and you probably have an imbalance of something, or you're stripping your hair way too often with shampoo. Now let's move on to dry scalps. Dry scalps, well, they look like the Sahara Desert, but besides that, you usually got some tumbleweeds going across your scalp, you know, because it's a desert. Comedy, you know, not my best thing. Typically, dry scalps are sensitive and prone to irritation. Sometimes you also experience what is considered dandruff or dry scalp. Dandruff is not the only thing that affects dry scalp. There is other things, so I'm not a doctor. I don't want to inform you on that. But if you have little pieces of white skin sprinkled around your hair, you probably have some sort of dry scalp condition. Your scalp is dry. It can also be itchy, and you can also feel a lot of tension on your scalp, like it's tight, like you need to rip it open and, you know, stretch it out. If it feels tight, your head's dry. And now we have normal scalps. Anybody with a normal scalp will not get a buildup of excess oils on their scalp and their hair strands by the end of the day after washing their hair in the morning. And if you don't notice any dry skin or flaky skin on your scalp, or your head doesn't have any tension, you know, so on and so forth, everything we just reviewed, if you don't have any of those symptoms, you probably have a normal scalp, which is great. It's the only time I like being normal is with my scalp. That was the easy bit, okay? Now we're gonna get onto things that are a little more, you know, you gotta think a little bit to comprehend, okay? Should be simple though. Now we're moving on to hair thickness and hair density. This is one that makes me so annoyed the most. It's when people confuse the two of these or just pretend they're both the same thing, because it's not. They're actually two different things, not one singular thing, so get it right. Hair thickness is describing the actual thickness of an individual piece of hair on your head. So if you pulled that hair out of your head and you looked at it, is it thick or thin? Then we have hair density. And that describes, you know, how big your damn ponytail is. When you pull your hair into a ponytail, is it large? Is it small? That's describing how many strands of hair you have on your head. Those are the two big things that I want you to remember. Hair thickness and hair density. Because that's the one that people get so hung up on and confused about and like, look, no, I don't get it. We'll get it. So, thick or thin, you ask? What hair type do you have? Is it thick or is it thin? I know what mine is. Thick, baby. Now, to measure hair thickness, if you have a piece of sewing thread, I'd recommend grabbing that. Grab a piece of thread, pluck out a piece of your hair, and compare the two side by side. The hair is naturally a little bit more consistent back here and a little bit thinner up here, so pluck from back here. If your hair is just as wide as the sewing thread or slightly thinner, that usually means you have thick hair. That's right, you have thick hair. And of course, if your hair is much thinner than the thread, you have thin hair. If you don't have a thread around, you can also take the hair strand, run it through your fingers like this, and if you can feel the hair, very much so, it usually means you have thick hair. If you can't feel it, you kind of just like rub along it, and if you don't look at it while you do it, you're like, am I touching the hair or not? You have thin hair. Now we're moving on to high or low density. It's check the density of your hair. Pull your damn hair back into a ponytail. Check the circumference. Circumference is the measurement around an area. If you have low density hair, your circumference of your ponytail will be less than 2 inches. Medium density will be 2 or 3 inches, and high density is 4 or more inches in circumference. Another way to figure this out if you can't pull your hair into a ponytail or if you don't have a tape measure, well, you can look at your hair in the mirror. If you can see your scalp without moving your hair around with your hands, you can just look down and see your damn scalp. Well, that probably means you have low density hair. And if you can't see your scalp, if that is covered up, honey, like camo in the forest, you got high density. Congrats. I'm jealous. I got low density, baby. Actually, my doctor told me I had low density hair, so it wasn't a fun doctor visit, you know? I actually kind of had a heart attack, so we work with what we got. Next, we're gonna learn if your hair is damaged or healthy. People all the time are like, dude, my hair is so damaged and dry. And I'm like, where? There's not one split end on your hair, not one. So let me give you a few little pieces of criteria that describes damaged hair. And let me try and help you figure out if you actually have damaged hair or you just think you do. Because people often get that confused. If your hair tangles easily, girl, it's damaged. Yeah, no, if you can't run your hands through it at all times, typically your hair is dry/damaged. If your hair, you know, is just not growing, some people actually just can't grow very long hair naturally. But if your hair definitely has those ends that look a little compromised, along with it not growing, your hair is damaged. If you look down at your ends, if you can see them, if your hair is long enough, and you're like, look at them and you're like, there's so many split ends. Like, it looks tragic. It looks so scary. Damaged hair. If you pull a piece of your hair and you stretch it out like this, if it stretches, your hair is damaged. If your hair just snaps, your hair is healthy. Congratulations. If your hair doesn't dry for like literally 10 hours and it's not, you know, very high density, if your hair is just medium or low density and it takes hours and 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 hours to dry, your hair is damaged because it's grasping onto that moisture because it has no natural moisture. So it needs to grab onto that moisture and hold it for as long as possible. Your hair is damaged. And if it doesn't take that long to dry, it's not damaged. If when you brush your hair, you're getting clumps of hair coming out, or you're getting just maybe more than like 10, 15 strands, your hair is probably damaged. And if you're getting less than that, your hair is not damaged. It's so healthy. Wow, good job. Is your hair shiny? Do you look like a well-groomed pony? If it's shiny, your hair is healthy. If it's not, you either need to wash it or your hair is damaged. It's damaged, okay? We're on to curl pattern now, guys. Okay, so curl pattern, it's a touchy subject. If you don't get this right, some people get mad at you. 99.9999999% of people have a curl pattern, okay? It's very rare that your hair is pin straight. If your hair air dries and there's any like sort of bevel, like literally this much, you have wavy hair. Pretty much everybody has wavy hair. You don't really come across anybody with pin straight hair naturally. There's 3 sort of subcategories. There's wavy, there's curly, and there's coily. Wavy being the least curly and coily being the most. That didn't really make sense, but you get it. We're gonna begin with 2A. This is the least wavy of them all. You just have that slight little bend, that little coo, but not like tight. I have 2A. You got just a little bit of texture. 2B, then we're getting into the actual, your hair is actually wavy. You have some wave pattern, okay? It's just a tiny bit more than 2A. What a weird coincidence. 2C, your hair is wavy like this, and they're tight. They're like, there's a lot of them, girl. 3A, which is just the classic curl. It's like you took a curling iron, but not really. It's a more lived in natural look. Just imagine like a curling iron curl. 2B, you have those spiral curls everywhere. They're like, and they're much smaller than the previous 2A. They're more defined, they're curlier. 3C. Oh, now you got the corkscrews. When you pull your hair down, your hair expands a lot. It goes back up. The curls are even tighter than 2B. You get the point. Little sections, all curly all over the place. Beautiful. Now we get into level 4, you guys. This is the coily hair, okay? This is a little bit more of an irregular wave mixed with an irregular curl. It's a tighter, curlier, wavier sort of hair. Basically take 2C and 3C and mix them both together, and now we got 4A. That is just a slightly coiled look, and definitely when you pull it out, it bounces back, okay? And it's much longer when you pull it out. Now we have 4B, which is very simple. You guys, I'm not gonna go into this too far. You just have a little bit of a tighter coil than 4A. 4B is just a little bit tighter. We're getting a little bit more into an afro at this point, you know? And then we have the curliest of them all, of all the lands, which is 4C hair. It's magic. It is very voluminous, very coily, very kinky, and very beautiful. So those are all the different types of hair you can have, and scalps, everything under the sun. I mean, you guys, you wanna know what mine is? I have a normal scalp, no dryness, no irregularities. It gets oily, you know, not too fast, not too slow. I have low density hair. I don't have a ton of it. Girl, the older I get, the more it's going away. I'll miss ya. Bye. I'll see you later. I also have thin hair. My individual hair strand is on the thinner side. It is much thinner than a piece of sewing thread. I would consider my hair healthy right now. I don't color it, so it's quite healthy. And it's always shiny when I wash it and very soft and supple and, you know, just all that good stuff. And my curl pattern is 2A. As you can see, this is pretty much how it dries naturally. The tiniest little like bend, just like a bevel. It's quite straight though. That is my hair type all laid out for you. I hope you guys can figure out yours.